Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a really crucial exploration. We're looking into some of the most profound, yet, often unspoken emotional and psychological shifts that come with aging, especially once you cross that threshold of 80. These aren't exactly the easy facts. They're more like the uncomfortable truths that rarely get discussed openly.
And that's precisely our aim here. I mean, these insights, they're not meant to discourage you at all. Far from it. It's more about equipping you. By truly understanding these realities, with clarity and compassion, you can navigate this really significant stage of life, whether it's for yourself or maybe for loved ones you care about. It helps you approach it with an unexpected sense of strength, awareness, and I think profound grace.
Yeah, exactly. So our mission for this deep dive is basically to unearth 6 pretty compelling emotional truths that, well, they fundamentally reshape life after 80. This is all based on the source material we've been really digging into. So prepare yourself because honestly, these perspectives might just change the way you view aging forever. Let's start with the first one. Perhaps the most, palpable shift, the quiet contraction of your world.
It often begins quite subtly, doesn't it? The source material describes this kind of phenomenon where your intimate personal sphere, like your immediate circle, your home, it just quietly starts to feel smaller. You might notice, say, fewer spontaneous calls, maybe fewer drop-in visits than there used to be. People you've cherished might move away, or they get busy with their own lives, or sadly, sometimes they pass on. And your own living space, which maybe once felt bustling, can become noticeably quieter. Not because anything's inherently wrong, but just, due to the diminishing physical presence of others.
Right. And what the source really highlights here, which I found truly insightful, is that this isn't always about like typical loneliness in the way we usually think of it. It's more about this dawning realization that what was once just a routine part of your day, things like easy laughter over lunch or just a casual walk with a friend, has now become rarer, almost sacred in a way. You find yourself sort of holding on to those memories like they're precious heirlooms. And this isn't some sign of weakness, it's just a deeply human response to profound change. But then this quiet contraction, it actually extends beyond your personal walls too, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. The source makes a really compelling case that this shrinking also applies to your, let's say, broader engagement with the world outside. I mean, think about it. Perhaps once you'd head out for groceries or morning walks, community events, maybe visits to places of worship, almost without a second thought. But now, even simple outings can feel heavier. They might demand more energy, more planning than before. It's not really that your spirit has changed, but the external landscape itself starts to feel a bit more distant, maybe less accessible. Familiar places might close down. Familiar faces get replaced by strangers. This isn't about your life ending, not at all. But the very rhythm of your daily interaction with society fundamentally shifts.
That makes perfect sense. And as we consider how our immediate and external worlds quieten down, it leads us quite naturally to another profound shift the source explores. How health transforms into, well, a daily balancing act. In your 40s, a cold is just a cold, right? You push through. But the research suggests that in your 80s, that very same cold can suddenly become like a 2-week siege. It just hits harder. What used to be minor, like maybe missing a meal or getting a bit dehydrated, can spiral into a pretty significant setback much faster than you'd ever expect.
And this really raises an important question, I think, about our self-perception and our capabilities at that stage. You might still feel mentally sharp, totally independent in your mind, but the body's natural resilience, that sort of automatic bounce-back quality, it just isn't quite there anymore in the same way. The smallest slip, like a minor illness or a fall, even just an oversight in care, can truly sideline you. And as the source material points out, this can feel deeply unfair, especially if you lived your entire life being pretty self-sufficient and capable.
Right. So if the body becomes this new kind of partner, one you're constantly negotiating with, what does this all mean for you, the listener? Well, the source argues pretty strongly that awareness becomes your ultimate superpower now. It's not just about being careful in a general sense, but really mastering a new kind of inner navigation. It suggests that hyper-awareness, like a really mindful tuning into your body's subtle cues, becomes your most potent tool. It transforms potential pitfalls into opportunities for a more intentional life. It's about adjusting your pace, prioritizing nourishment and rest, moving with profound self-kindness. You don't need to prove anything anymore. Your focus shifts to protecting what you still have and finding new ways to thrive within those perhaps new boundaries.
Which brings us quite neatly to the third emotional truth we wanted to discuss, the often unspoken feeling of, well, invisibility. Have you ever perhaps walked into a room and felt like maybe no one really turned to acknowledge your presence? Or perhaps you've spoken, only to be interrupted, not necessarily out of rudeness, but maybe because people just didn't expect you to lead the conversation or, contribute in that moment.
It's rarely intentional malice, is it? It's often more of a deeply ingrained cultural thing, I think. Youth is frequently loud, assertive, visible, while aging tends to get relegated to a quieter, maybe less prominent role in the public sphere. But that absolutely doesn't mean your voice has lost its value. In fact, the source makes a really compelling argument that you've actually never been wiser. You're holding a lifetime of experience. So if you start to feel overlooked, the powerful advice isn't to step back, but actually to strategically step forward. Tell your story. Your lived experience holds immense weight, immense value, even when the world seems to have perhaps forgotten how to truly listen sometimes.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that the research suggests you could actually become this quiet, potent force, the one that reminds others what grace and resilience and real depth of wisdom truly look like. Your mere presence, your carefully chosen words, your unique perspective, they're invaluable and honestly essential to share.
That insight into reclaiming your voice, especially when feeling invisible, brings us to a related yet slightly distinct challenge. The emotional weight of loss and transition that just naturally comes with this stage of life. It's a form of grief, really, isn't it? Not just for the people you've lost, which is immense in itself, but also for the routines, the roles, the very rhythms of life you once knew and loved.
That's a crucial distinction the source really emphasizes. It's a completely natural process to mourn the life you had, perhaps the capabilities you once took for granted, the effortless freedom maybe. This isn't a sign of weakness, it's simply an acknowledgement of a profound shift. The material doesn't advise dwelling endlessly on this grief, but rather acknowledging it, making space for it, and then, importantly, intentionally building new rituals, even small ones. A regular phone call with someone, maybe starting a reflective journal, or even just a daily gentle walk can really help your evolving world still feel full and meaningful, even as it becomes quieter and perhaps reoriented.
That concept of conscious adaptation truly resonates, and it leads us directly into our fifth truth, dealing with the body's unpredictable demands. I mean, one day you might wake up feeling clear-headed, confident, physically strong, just ready to tackle the day. And then the very next day, your knees might feel, well, untrustworthy. Your grip might slip unexpectedly, or you might forget completely why you walked into a room just moments before.
And this inconsistency, as highlighted very clearly by the sources, can profoundly chip away at your confidence. It really can. Suddenly, just leaving the home can feel like a calculated risk. And that underlying fear the material acknowledges is very real and completely valid. It's not just a physical challenge, it's a deep mental and emotional one too.
So if the body presents these unpredictable demands, how do we navigate it? How do you navigate it? The source suggests your secret weapon here isn't necessarily to fight against the current, but rather to embrace the art of adaptability. And this leads us to our sixth and arguably most empowering truth: redefining control and finding fulfillment within these changing realities.
Exactly. This is where we move beyond simply reacting to things. The goal isn't to somehow conquer aging as if it's an enemy to be defeated. It's much more about learning to flow with it. What's profoundly insightful here, I think, is that when you stop fighting your body and instead begin to truly understand and crucially partner with it, being kind to your new pace, embracing rest when you need it, stretching, asking for help without shame, you actually regain a brand new kind of control. It's a control found not in dominance, but in intelligent navigation and creative problem solving. This conscious adaptability allows for a really powerful redefinition of what a full and meaningful life looks like now.
Wow. We've covered some really profound emotional ground today, haven't we? This deep dive truly illustrates that aging isn't about weakness. It's more like wisdom in motion, a continuous process of evolution. And if any of these truths resonated with you, please know you are absolutely not alone in these experiences or feelings.
And that was really our initial purpose, wasn't it? To provide some clarity and compassion, helping you thoughtfully navigate this unique stage of life. Remember, aging, seen through these insights, reveals itself as a journey of learning how to grow in new ways, often quieter perhaps, but incredibly profound ways.
So here's a final thought to maybe mull over. If life after 80 brings, let's say, a quieter, perhaps smaller world and a body that's less predictable, how might embracing this idea of flow and adaptability, of becoming a sort of master navigator of your own evolving landscape, allow for a brand new kind of control and fulfillment, even as the external world continuously shifts around you?
Ultimately, understanding these truths not as burdens but more like navigational charts allows for conscious strategic choices. It's really about equipping yourself to keep growing, keep learning, and keep living with eyes wide open to the changing landscape, definitely, but also with a strategic strength to adapt and constantly redefine fulfillment along the way.